Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
Hello everyone. Now let's start our next topic here, that is meaning of parliamentary democracy. Now before the students, let's have a brief recap of what you learned in your last topic. So in our last topic we were talking about the organs of government, in which we learned about the three organs of government, that is the legislature, the executive and the judiciary. So when I'm saying legislature, what does that mean? It means that we are talking about the branch of government that makes the laws. Then we talked about the executive branch of the government. It means that they have the responsibility of executing or implementing the laws. And when we are talking about the judiciary branch, it means that they have the responsibility to interpret the laws, to see if the laws that have been implemented, they have been implemented efficiently, and to look at the working of the executive, the legislature, or if any dispute arises between the central or the state government, the judiciary can take over the major decisions here, right? So each and every branch here is checking the powers of the other branches, and also it is a system of checks and balances. This is what you are going to learn in your senior classes also. Here you just have to understand about the organs of the government. Now, while we are talking about the meaning of parliamentary democracy, students, in the name of the chapter only, we have the term that is parliamentary democracy, right? So in the beginning of the chapter itself, I made you understand the point that what do we understand by, basically mean by parliamentary democracy. Correct, students? Yes. So when we are talking about the parliamentary democracy, we know that in our country, we have the representative government. So here the first point that we are seeing, that parliament is a representative body. What do we understand by it? Now if you recall, students, in your previous chapter, you have learnt about elections, right? So when we were learning about elections, what did we see? So when we are talking about a democratic form of government, in that we know that elections, they form the basis of this democratic form of government, because it is only through elections that people, they are going to elect their representatives. Now the term representatives is really important here. Why? Because the term representatives itself shows that we are choosing or we are electing our leaders. And these leaders, who are they? They are the members of the parliament. So parliament here is the foundation stone when we are talking about the procedure of making laws. So the ministers, who are the members of the parliament, they are the people involved in making laws. Not just making the laws, but also changing these laws, altering the laws, amending the laws. Now these are some of the terms that are really important in political science. Okay, students? So in senior classes, and here in fact in this chapter, in the later part, you will learn about the terms such as amendments. So the laws are amended by these ministers as well. But while talking about parliament being a representative body, I hope that you have understood this point right now. Representative body, it means that our elected representatives, they are sitting in the parliament of our country. Okay? We are talking at the national level. So at the national level, we have the parliament. Now this is the legislative body, the supreme legislative body that has the responsibility of making the laws. So this is another important point that you have to keep in mind. Now it is elected on the basis of universal adult franchise. Is it difficult for to understand this term here, students? Universal adult franchise? Obviously not. Because in the last chapter only, you have heard this term and learnt about the term. It means that all the adults who have the right to vote. And when we are talking about our own country, so people or the adults at the age of 18 or above, they have the right to vote. So although all those eligible voters, they have the right to elect their representatives, and these elected representatives, they are sitting in the parliament, okay? Whenever there is a session of parliament, they go there and they have to be present there. They have to attend the sessions happening in the parliament, and they have to go through various procedures of making the laws, changing the laws after thorough discussions. Okay, so these are some of the important points here that you have to keep in mind. And the image that you can see here is the parliament of our country. Okay, where is the parliament of our country? So it is in New Delhi. Okay, the national capital territory. Here students, another important point that you have to keep in mind. So the parliament has the power over the executive of the country as it is chosen from the elected members of the parliament. Two important points that we have to keep in mind here. What is that? When we are talking about the legislature, when we are talking about the executive branch, we know that they are connected. Yes? Because when we are talking about the executive, who are the people who come under this category, this branch of government, that is executive branch? Who are the people? So it is the elected members, the ruling party that we are talking about. The ruling party has the right, has the responsibility of implementing the laws, of executing the laws. So it consists of our Prime Minister along with the Council of Ministers also. When we are talking about the legislature, the whole parliament, in fact, it comprises of the president, right? The president of India. Apart from that, the two houses of the parliament. Now you must be aware of the names, right? You must have heard it on television, you must have read it on newspaper, or you must have heard from the family members. They must have talked about Lok Sabha, they must have talked about Raj Sabha. So the members of Lok Sabha, the members of Raj Sabha. What is this Lok Sabha and Raj Sabha? These are the two houses of the parliament. Now Lok Sabha is the house of the people, the lower house. And when we are talking about the Raj Sabha, that is the upper house. Now, you must be thinking, there might be a question in your mind that when we are talking about the people directly elected by, when we are talking about the ministers directly elected by the people, right? So you might be thinking that, ma'am, where are these people sitting, in the Lok Sabha or in the Raj Sabha? So students, another important point that you should remember is that people or the ministers, okay, let's not get confused with the terms, ministers who are elected by the people, directly elected by the people, these are the members of parliament sitting in the Lok Sabha. When we are talking about the members of the Raj Sabha, so they are elected by the state's legislative assemblies, the members of the state legislative assemblies. Now these are some of the points that you are going to learn in senior classes. Here, just for extra information, I have shared it with you. Now the point, let's come over this point here, that the parliament has the power over the executive of the country. Now here, the executive of the country, Prime Minister along with Council of Ministers, they are also the member of the parliament only, students, right? So they are chosen from the elected members of the parliament. The majority party that has won the election, the general elections, about which you already have learned in your previous chapter, right students? So the majority party that wins the elections, they form the party, the ruling party in the parliament, okay? The executive branch here is the ruling party, the Prime Minister along with the Council of Ministers, right? He has several ministers with him who are taking important decisions of the country, correct students? And they have to keep in check with the other members. The opposition parties also sit in the parliament, right students? So here we see that the parliament has power over the executive of the country because it is chosen from the elected members of the parliament. Okay, so let's not get confused here with these terms. Now the executive, they remain in the power as long as they enjoy the confidence of the parliament. Yes students, another important point that you have to keep in mind. Here there are certain terms that you must understand. One is the ruling party, the party that has won the election. But again, we all know that in India we have multiple parties. In your last chapter, you have read that 7 national parties are there. Apart from that, there are several state parties as well who did not get the recognition of national party, right? So here you have to understand this whole party system also. That when we are talking about the parliament, we have so many parties and their members who are included there, right? The members of the parliament. So there is a ruling party, then there is an opposition party. Okay? And all these members from the ruling party, from the opposition parties, they are sitting in the parliament. They are the members of the parliament. So there may be a chance that the other members from opposition party, they can file a no confidence motion. Now what is that? It means that they can vote for no confidence if they find that the ruling party is not working according to the given laws. They are not working as per mark. So a no confidence motion can be filed in the parliament. Okay, this is the power that the members of parliament, they enjoy. Okay, they can always challenge the ruling party in this sense. So executive, they remain in power as long as they are enjoying the confidence of the parliament, of all the members present in the parliament. Okay, so it is about the Lok Sabha. You have to keep in mind. Now the parliament also controls the national budget of the country. Yes, students, you must have heard this term budget. So every financial year that we are talking about, that happens at the end of March, right? So what happens? Each and every person, every individual, like I told you, you can ask your parents also, right? That how they are paying the taxes and who are eligible to pay the taxes. Okay. So all those people who are paying the taxes to the government, so our government has certain budget, national budget, and they have to maintain the budget. Okay. And who has the responsibility of looking over the national budget of the country? So it is the parliament that has to control the national budget of the country. Now there are certain terms that I might tell you: Consolidated Fund of India. Okay, so all the members of the parliament and every government official who is getting the salaries, and also a certain budget has been given on every account. Let's say when we are talking about defense, when we are talking about the administration, when we are talking about all the other external affairs. So each and every sector here, when government sector that we are talking about, they have a certain budget that they can spend over it. The several schemes that we are talking about that the government introduces. So they have certain budget and it is passed by the parliament of our country. Okay, the members who are sitting there, the ministers who are sitting there in the parliament, they hold discussions, and the discussions happen for a long duration. It's not that in one day they are deciding, okay, we have certain budget and we should spend this much amount on defense. We should spend this much amount on building hospitals. It is not like that. So long discussions, long sessions are held in the parliament. Okay, students? So here you have to keep these important points in mind when we are talking about the role of parliament as well. So here, students, we understood the term or the meaning of parliamentary democracy. We talked about what is this parliament, the two houses of the parliament, and we talked about the importance of legislature, this branch along with the executive branch. Okay. In our next topic, we are going to talk about the parliament, specifically the union legislature. Thank you very much.